Hi everyone, and welcome to this tutorial on adding guns into Modiverse. This is the weapons project available on GitHub. And obviously when you open this, there'll be a ton more guns here, but adding in guns here, I thought I'd run through the process. So what we're going to be adding in today is the P220. So let's first of all go ahead under Blueprints, Guns, and add in our folder. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on things such as the base gun system and how this works. I'll gloss over the top of it, but I'm sure I'll do another tutorial, more in-depth stuff. But essentially, guns are provided with really just things like the keyboard input, and the mouse, like left, right mouse button, reload, equip, unequip, those sort of events, and they trigger into this, and this guy basically handles all the replication to servers and remote clients and all the animations, and effectively inside each of these guns, you really just implement the high level stuff. So let's go ahead and start adding the gun in. First thing to do is going to add the meshes. I'm lucky enough here to already have a gun set up for me. It's up to yourself to build this for your modeler. You'll find this pretty simple. I'm not, so I'll have to use other things. But I'm just going to import everything here. Since you're a uniform, import it all. And one thing we have to note here is you need two animations. You need an idle one and you need a fire one. Now there is, I don't know if you call it a bug in Blender or the conversion process, but effectively you end up with these animations that are tiny wee incorrectly scaled meshes. So what you need to go down to do, and again this might be different for yourself, is you need to go to that, increase that uniform to 100, re-import the animation. You'll get this warning, as you always do. But when we go back in here, you'll see we now have a gun that looks correct and all the bones on it. So we're just going to save that. And likewise, we're going to do that with the other one. Let's go into here, increase the scale by 100, re-import the animation, get the error, but when we go back in here, you'll see we have our nice firing animation. Okay, let's save that, come back out. Now, the simplest way to do this is to borrow from another gun. In this case, I'm going to use another pistol here. We're going to effectively borrow most of the parts here. So I'm going to take the sounds, the gun itself, muzzle flash, and the magazine as well. I'll explain how that works in a minute. I'm going to drag this into our P220 and copy. It's very important. So here we have our copy. So I'm just going to rename these. Now remember, all we've really done is move them in here. These things still reference. For example, if this referenced the muzzle flash, it's not going to reference this one. It's going to reference the one back in here because these two are linked together. So all we did was copy them, and they're not going to reference each other. This one's going to reference back into this guy. Okay, so we need to fix those things up later, but that's just for your reference. You can do the advanced copy that's supposed to fix all these links out. I've never had 100% luck with it, so I'm just going to do this manually. Okay, and likewise, if I just show you the sounds as an example here, if we go into empty, so we have our sound wave here, and we have then the actual cue. You can hear it makes the sound. However, if we go in here and actually look at where this is, so it's actually under this one. So you see it's under the M9. So what in this example we would have to do is, let's actually be 100% correct here and change these. Having them the correct name definitely helps with locating issues. So again, if we go in here, you'll see that this is still talking to that M9, but if we do the P220, and we can save. So again, I'll just rattle through the rest of these. Okay, here we go. One actual way that you can test the linkages, you can obviously use the reference viewer, and you click here, it'll show you what's referencing it. But another handy way of doing it at a high level is to use migration. You'll see whenever you migrate, it should only include the things under that folder. If this sound cue, for example, linked back to the M9, you would see it including the M9. So it's a quick way of just making sure that it's all perfectly isolated now. Okay, let's move back and let me just use that example here. Let me look at the reference viewer. You'll see that this P220 gun, it's using the M9 material, it's using the M9 mag, and also the M9 drop. Just go in here, and what we're going to do very quickly is just look for M9. You'll see here's one reference. This is the drop sound, and we want the Q, I think, magazine drop Q. Okay, that's that. And then also then, obviously in here it's using the magazine. So we want to take our, on here obviously we just have the gun mesh. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this stuff as well. So again, we'll just do the same thing. We will create a magazine. We will simply drag these over. Again, we would normally want the correct models, but in this instance, I'm just showing it as an example. And given the magazine's only really on show whenever the actor effectively grabs it from behind them and pops it into the gun, it's only a transient thing, so it's something that we don't need to spend a lot of time on, but I do recommend for your own guns, make sure you get it correct. And I will change this in due course. Okay, go in here. Again, this references actually nothing. It's got a bad material, or referencing the world grid. So let's give it the P220. There we go. So it's just black, nice and simple. So there we go. And again, we can just go to here and do our migrate. Let's save. You see, it's just that. It's also linking to this. Oh, sorry, I picked the mesh folder instead of the magazine, but that's still good. That proves actually that these things are isolated as well. Okay, so we're getting further down the road here. The muzzle flash, again, it's just a particle. You can see it there. We can enhance this later on, whatever we want. I'm pretty sure this just references a few particles that are within the standard pistol muzzle flash. That's fine. Now, the actual bulk of the work. Okay. This is the main gun class itself, or the main actor. And look, at a high level, there's these options that we really want to set. We want to set the name. We can set whether it is automatic, where it keeps firing if you have the left mouse button down, like an AK-47, fire rates, clip sizes. And I'm just going to keep most of these, in fact, all of them the same from the M9. Then we have, obviously, if we look actually at the gun itself, here we go to the viewport, you'll see that we have the original M9 in here. We have the tip point, it's where effectively the muzzle flash occurs and the bullet is ejected from. We have where the shell is ejected from, and then we have the ADS, which is aim down sights camera. So that's whenever you're sort of holding your right mouse button, you look down the sights. So what we need to do first off is we need to change our mesh. So we're going to go in here and pick our P220. There we go. Very nice. Again, materials are not. Yes, we need to do our materials. So let's do that. Textures. We're going to import our texture. There's just two textures here: a diffuse and a normal. You're going to create a material, our P220 material. And yes, we're okay. We know it's a normal map. And we're going to simply just drag these two up here and into this, and we're to smooth them out a wee bit. Now we're going to keep it fairly simple, and then just save. Okay, so now we need to apply it. So let's go into our mesh and pick our material for both of them. Now obviously the shaders are still compiling, so it'll take a couple minutes. If you want to see, it usually says up here, but it was too quick. So there's our gun. Let's just save that. Go back in here now, and our gun looks better. Yeah, we can see now it's quite dark in here, but you can kind of see it's looking wrong. The reason it's looking wrong is because this material is incorrect. So I'm going to just undo that one. So there we go. looking better. Okay, next up is our animation. So if I look very quickly in here, you'll see that. I'll just open these up here. There's a number of functions in here. These ones I'm not worried about too much, but these are the main ones here. The visualize firing, visualize reloading, and visualize out of ammo. Now, out of ammo is easy. It's just a sound, and you see here, it's using the wrong sound clip, so we can just change that while we're here. Visualize reloading, again, it's actually, this is the main workhorse for reloading. This does really, the animation is onto the character. If I double click on this, you'll see inside this function, it really just says, it gets the owner, casts it to a special interface that's available to all guns, and this interface has multiple calls that can be made on it. Again, I'm not going to go into detail. Suffice to say that the owner of all guns is a pawn, so this interface exists in the pawn, as you can see. And then we say, look, play the reload animation. So that allows us to control when that animation occurs. Most times you'll just want to play it immediately, but it's up to yourself. If there's a cooldown or a reload period for your gun that you want to stop, that can be used there. But the main interesting one is the visualize firing. So this is the bit that actually raycasts out into the world and shows impacts and shows tracer bullets. And essentially this is with the muzzle flash, the sounds and the firing animations are all handled along with the ejection of the case. So this is what you would modify if you want to really change how it works. But essentially here what we want to do is mostly around animations, okay? So let me go ahead, and we have two animations here, but in order to get this to work, what we need to do on our skeleton mesh is to create an animation class. So let's go ahead and create an animation class, and we'll just create it this way. Animation blueprint, sorry. So we'll call this P220 animation blueprint. Oh, there we go. This will already be set up correctly, against the right skeleton. I mean, you can right click and go and pick the skeleton, but it's very handy just to right click on it already and use that option. So let's go ahead and create some animation montages. So this is what we want to do. Let's go right click and then go create animation montage. And we're just going to shorten this down because it's so idle montage. And same again with the fire. Oh, and we just again shorten this down. We don't need all the text in here. There we go. That's it. Simple montages, not doing anything simple. We don't need anything down here. We're just creating a montage to allow it to be played. First thing we're going to do, actually in this case, I'm not sure we need the idle montage because we're going to play this animation directly. Create it anyway. So let's first of all add in a default slot. It's important so we can play the montage. When we obviously compile and save that, it's playing the idle animation. You don't get to see anything there. But that allows us to add in here our animation BP. And if we go, we're going to do a quick search here. So actually, let's just do the playing firing animation. So in here, you see get the skeleton mesh, gets animation instance, and it wants to play a montage. So in this case, we want to play our firing montage. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. So this gets called every time a bullet's fired, and effectively this, in our case, causes a gun to look like it's firing. Now, let's test this. I'm sure there's bugs, but let's go ahead and test this. Inside the level itself, you'll see that we have a special actor called pick up weapon blueprint. So I'm just going to copy and paste this and create another version of it. I'm going to just rename this, or create another one of these, and just name this P220. And then I'm going to pull out our base actor here. Just stick it roughly in there and drag it up a wee bit. Let's go and have a look. It's kind of in the center. You need to kind of ignore the camera. Okay. And this pickup actor takes two main properties. The first is the actual gun, so we're going to pick our 220 instance, and then is what sort of grip. In this case, you'll be using either basically the dual grip, shotgun rifle, or the single grip. Those are the kind of the four main ones. The rest of these are more specific. Some of them aren't implemented as of yet, so I'd stick to those top four, or first 1 to 5, 1 to 4. Okay, now we've created this. One thing I want to do before playing is just very quickly look for M9 references, because there's going to be a few in here, and what should effectively fix these up. Okay, so muzzle flash, if we go down here, you'll see that it's set up incorrectly. Let's set it to the right one. We'll then look at the default sound. So here's our firing sound. So we're going to do the P220 and the firing sound cue. Next one is here. So this is, just let you know, this is how magazines are returned to Modiverse. So whenever the character reaches behind and grabs a fresh magazine, this is the representation of that magazine. So don't need to worry about that. That's not used anymore. But we're going to supply in here our magazine, the mesh, and then we're going to also provide a class. Okay, so the mesh is what the I suppose the character will grab from its back. However, this actor here, which is actually a blueprint, this actor is what is dropped to the ground. So this is the thing that falls and clatters around the ground, has physics. So that's why there's two different representations. This one's for grabbing, this one's for dropping. Okay. And again, this transform allows you to alter how the magazine is held within the player's or within the character's hand. So obviously you can change the location against the left hand bone whenever the character grabs it from behind them, because not every magazine is going to be orientated or positioned or scaled correctly, and this allows you to tweak that. Okay. I think that's everything. We'll just do another check. Nothing found. So let's save everything. And let's see what other problems we have. So here's our gun. Let's go and pick it up. So we can see we have a gun in hand. Now some of the useful keys here. We have V key, which is a debug key. And the V key allows you basically to debug. Have the camera in front of you at all times so you can look around. If I press V again, I go back into third person. And then press C to go into first person. And there we have our pistol. Looks okay. Let's shoot it. Yeah, so it's shooting correctly, but I'm not seeing any animation. Now this might just be because it's subtle. So let me just, what we can do here is eject. So I'm just going to eject and go up here and just check placement. So I know the fire animation isn't working, but I'm just checking that the gun scale is correct. It's maybe a little bit too big there. I can move it back a slight bit. I'm not going to do that in a minute. You know, that's something that we would do inside Blender. If I turn the speed down a bit, maybe it's disorientating. So I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, I could probably make it a tiny bit smaller, move it back a tiny bit, but it's pretty good for the moment. You know, again, yeah, it's probably come down a little bit into the hands, make it more natural. But it's not too bad. So our fire animation is not executing. So let's have a look at that. Okay, I realize what it is now. The problem is because the animation is so short. Whenever the animation montage is playing, it is effectively a blend in and blend out time. And the problem here is that they're set too big. So this is saying, like, you know, at 45 or 0.25 of a second, blend in and blend out at 0.25. And fortunately, your animation is lasting a fraction of that. So if we just look here very quickly, well, animation isn't even lasting that. So what we do is we set this to 0, so it immediately plays, immediately stops, and that's fine. We don't need any blend in. So let's now try this, and there we go. It's working correctly. And there we go. We have now added in and a fully operational P220. The same process as goes for the other guns here. Obviously, the only real difference is certainly in the rifles and shotguns is how it's set up. And very quickly, let me just go into the definitions file here to show you what you would do. So inside the weapons table, we have a list of weapons. So let's go ahead and add in that new one. And most times it's easier to duplicate something. We're going to call this our P220. P220. This is the reference to the gun itself. So let's go get that under guns, P220. Right click and we go copy reference. And we go into our gun table and we paste this in. Now we cut off the blueprint and the first colon, and then cut off the .p220 gun BP on the end. And that's just a standard path then. We obviously then can select different hand. At the minute we only support right-handed, so it doesn't matter what you set in there, it's right-handed. This value here is no longer there. It might disappear in your version. Likewise, these two are no longer used as well. But this one here is used. This allows, again, you to specify that the kind of grip that the character will have. Now, obviously, we did set it in here as part of the kind of the test, as this value here, but this is only for testing. This is the place that's actually picked up with by the game. Then obviously then we have the HUD image that appears along the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 along the top. We have effectively the kill icon. So this is the icon that appears. Again, it's kind of hard to see given, there we go, whenever you actually kill somebody. And then finally is the icon that appears in the spawn menu. And again, here is also our reference to our magazine. So let me just go and fix that. So we are here. Again, same principle, right click, copy reference. Paste it in here, and we remove the blueprint colon and the dot pp220. So it's just the raw path. And finally, at the very end, we have where we wish this to, by default, appear within the equipment bar. So in this will be on, say, the first slot, and ideally at position 0. And if there are multiple ones at the same position, it'll just put them in order, which they're shown here. Okay. So that's it. That's everything that we need to create our guns. Thank you very much. I'm going to go now and obviously change sounds and alter the muzzle flash a little bit just to make it more unique, and probably adjust the properties on this so that we obviously kind of replicate the gun, particularly around the fire rate and the distance, and then obviously the damage is the key one here. Thank you, and good luck with your weapons, and if you need any help, just drop in the Discord and have a chat. Thanks.